Hello world, I'm Mandy Mundo and welcome to my YouTube channel. This video is a little bit different than my other ones. It wasn't really a vacation, it was more of a history lesson. So we traveled to Aachen, Germany and the Hürtgen Forest, and we retraced the steps of the Battle of the Hürtgen Forest. This is a battle that took place between the months of September 1944 to December 1944. Right before the start of the Battle of the Bulge. I am by no means a historian, so if I get anything wrong or messed up, please forgive me. And these are just some snippets of the battle, not everything I captured or was able to capture. So I definitely recommend you find a group to do this with yourself so that you can retrace the steps as well. It took us about 2.5 days driving to different places and then hiking through the forest and such. So I hope you enjoy. Of the Hürtgen Forest. This is actually the Siegfried Line, and these structures behind me are called dragon's teeth. So what they're meant to do is to stop the tanks from coming to the line. So as you can see, they built this to go all the way up into the woods. So we're going to climb all the way up along the dragon's teeth. What they would do, one way to get across the dragon's teeth if they needed to, is the tanks would have bulldozers attached to the front, and they would just bulldoze dirt over the tops of the teeth, and then they would just drive right across it. Ah, crazy! All right, let's go trek up. And this is the only place where they built dragon's teeth over a creek. If you drive around this part, you'll actually see a lot of dragon's teeth just around the road, but this one went straight through the forest, so we decided to trek through it. German trenches. Well preserved. And we're trekking up it.
Yes.
We did it! You made it! You got it!
You can walk sideways.
Walking through the trench. Hi!
Going through you held her neck to me. So how do you get
Good job, ma'am. Go, go.
Take cover.
You got it.
Yeah. Man, what are you doing?
And now we are walking on the location of the Battle of the Crucifix Hill. So this was a battle that took place in October, and it was in an effort to further take the German town of Aachen. So this predated the Battle of Aachen.
I showed you a picture of what this used to look like. That's the original crucifix. There's a German soldier standing right here at the base. That's you. During the battle that we're going to talk about here, and this is what the Germans put up in this place.
So behind me, this was one of the areas for the Jewish cemeteries, and after the Germans destroyed the cemetery, then people went back in after the war and picked up different fragments of the tombstones and built that wall that we saw. So it was pretty nice that they were able to put something back together. Next we went to the Aachen Cathedral. It holds the remains of Charlemagne. The building was started around the year 800, and as the centuries went on, they added more and more parts to the building. So the golden box is here, the second golden box, the one in the middle. That is the shrine of the Virgin Mary, and it contains the apparel of Virgin Mary, the swaddling clothes and loincloth of Jesus, and the decapitation cloth of John the Baptist. Where I'm standing right now, this is known as the octagon. It was the first part of the cathedral that was built. So in the year 800 or so, and then again they just kept adding more parts to it as time went on.
Walking through the Hürtgen Forest, and we're gonna go check out some old German bunkers. Can't believe they're still here.
So behind me is one of the German bunkers, and what our guide just told us is that the Americans would be coming from this way, and so they're defending right there. And in order to blow it up, what they would do is each one would have their own water source. So they would fill up the bunker with water, the US engineers would, and then they'd throw dynamite in it because the water would help decrease the amount of area they'd have to blow up. Again, pretty insane that this is all still here. And our guide said it's not really protected either, that the Germans don't protect it as like a historic site or anything, so if you wanted to, you could literally just jump in, but definitely don't do that. We're not going to do that.
Came across another bunker, and this one you can actually climb into. Take a look.
Now we are at the military cemetery of Wassenach, where German soldiers from the battle are buried. Also who's buried here is Field Marshal Model, the German Field Marshal, so equivalent to a US Army general. At the end of the war, he did shoot himself, but they decided to bury him with his men, with his soldiers, so he is buried here.
A lot of the grave sites are shared, so here there are two people buried, last name N, and then the second one says Unbekannter Soldat, meaning unknown soldier. So an unknown soldier shares a grave with a known soldier. And some of the other places have 2 unknown soldiers. We just left the town of Bosnack, walking along the same road the US Army did. And they probably had this view to look at. This is called the Call Trail. It's where the 112th Infantry walked from Bosnack into the town of Kammerscheid. Explain to the viewers where we're going, what we're doing?
I have no idea where we're going. I have no idea what we're doing. I just don't want to fall. I just don't want to
So I believe this is the first and the 3rd regiment's path that we are taking right now. We're going down the hill, but basically might as well call it a mountain. We're going down the mountain, and it gets really steep.
And Bravo's not gonna fall.
We're still working on hiking up the hill, and we came across this. Some tank tread. So basically during the war, when they were trying to get up here, the tank couldn't make it because it was really muddy. So they went and took some of the tank tread, put it into the ground, so that way the tank could roll right over it. It's been about 78 years, and it's still here. Very, very cool. So we were in the town of Bosnack, and when you are facing the church in the town, you're going to take a right, and we're on the trail number 66. So you'll see the signs posted on the trees. So it says Historisch Wanderweg, so historic walk or historic way, number 66. So you can see this trail too. Here are the ruins of another bunker near the town of Bergstein. So another one you could crawl into if you wanted.
of Bergstein. So the U.S. Army wanted to take the hill for the advantages that it provided. So they needed some extra help though. They called in the 2nd Ranger Battalion, which had 6 companies of 65 men. So that's about 390 men. And after fighting all day long, by the end of the day, they only had 25 men left, but they still decided to try and take the hill. So with the help of some extra artillery support, they were successful and they were able to capture the hill. So this structure was built where you can walk up to the very top and you can see from the vantage point why this hill was so important. What you can see in the distance, such as the Rohr River and the town of Schmidt. So a very important turning point in this set of battles.
With a visit to the museum, the 1944 Hürtgen Forest Museum. They've got a lot of different artifacts in there because after the battle was over, a lot of locals would find stuff, and even as the years went on, they just kept finding stuff. So a lot of ammunition or weapons, uniforms, medals, different military gear. So let's go take a look. Village of Simon's Skull. It's right down the road from the Hürtgen Forest Museum, and behind me is a former medical bunker used during the war. So the main point of this was basically just first aid. So you had 4 or 5 medics in the building rendering first aid for about 20 to 30 wounded, and then shipping them off to the next higher level of care. So very, very small in there, and actually quite funny, right above it, they built a house, just a normal house. So there's actually a family that lives right above the bunker, and they own the bunker, but people affiliated with the museum can come and actually walk through it. It's crazy.
Our very last stop was to take a look at one of the dams. So the interesting part about the Battle of the Hürtgen Forest is that the dams were the most important objective, yet they weren't even taken. The American army didn't even try to take the dams. It wasn't until after the Battle of the Hürtgen Forest that the dams were taken in February of 1945, but by then the Germans had already used the dams to their advantage by blowing whichever one they needed to and unleashing the water that the dam held up. So off in the distance to the left, you can barely see it, but it's one of the dams. And that concludes our trip to the Hürtgen Forest.